Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Ball Games and Beyond. I am your host, Evan Groat, and Ball Games and Beyond is brought to you by Sportsnaut.com. Please go out there and subscribe to Sportsnaut on our YouTube channel. A lot of great content there for you. Click the notifications bell as well, and make sure you are also following and listening to the audio version of the podcast on any of the major podcasting platforms by searching Ball Games and Beyond. Another great week here in sports. Of course, it was a great weekend in sports as well with the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. Mystic Dan got it done, kind of came out of nowhere. No one was expecting that horse to win the race, but he got it done here. And now we're going to see if he can take the second leg of the Triple Crown in the Preakness, which is getting underway here in a couple weeks. So that'll be something that we look forward to here on the show. But what we're going to do this week, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be discussing a new 4-part docuseries. And that series details and kind of goes behind the scenes of this past season in women's college basketball. It chronicles the senior season of Iowa star Caitlin Clark, South Carolina's Kamilla Cardoso, and the sophomore season of Kiki Rice from UCLA. Now, we've seen a lot of these docu-series pop up lately. We had Netflix had their quarterback series as well as their full swing series. There's so many of these, and they're so great to watch. It's something that I really enjoy, kind of getting a behind the scenes look into an athlete's life, and that's what we're going to get here with this new series. It's titled Full Court Press, and it premieres this weekend on May 11th and May 12th. There's 2 parts on Saturday and 2 parts on Sunday. You can find it on ABC, and it will shortly be available on ESPN Plus as well as Hulu. The project was a part of Omaha Productions, which is Peyton Manning's production company, and as you know, they are the ones responsible for the Netflix quarterback series. So they've had a lot of success with that, and the director of this series is Kristen Lappas, and we're going to be lucky enough to be joined by director Kristen Lappas in just a few minutes, and she'll give us some details of the project as well, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. But before we do that, we all know it was a tremendous season for women's college basketball. They saw records broken both on the court and off the court. Of course, Caitlin Clark set the all-time scoring record, which was well documented in this new docu-series that will be available for you this weekend. Just some numbers for you as far as what some of the other records that were broken. As far as viewership and ratings are concerned, 19 million people watched the South Carolina versus Iowa national championship game. That was an 89% increase from the 2023 title game, and it peaked at 24 million people watching that game, and that shattered previous records. Now, that's been well documented to this point, and that also eclipsed the men's championship game and their viewership by 4 million viewers. That audience that watched the women's national title game was larger than the 2023 World Series and the 2023 NBA Finals. It didn't stop there. The WNBA draft as well saw a 307% increase in their ratings as well. So a tremendous year for women's college basketball. And of course, it has all to do with Caitlin Clark and the phenomenon that she is. She brings eyes to the sets. She is a meter mover. She moves the needle. As well as some of the other great stars that they have in women's college basketball: Paige Buchers, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Kamilla Cardoso, as I mentioned earlier. So women's college basketball is moving in the right direction right now, and I do expect there to be a bump in the viewership now with the WNBA, and they're going to see some of the benefits that college basketball saw with having Caitlin Clark there. So big things on the horizon for women's college basketball, as well as WNBA. We just heard this week that they're now going to have chartered flights for WNBA players, and that's something new that has not been the case in recent years. So things are definitely moving in the right direction for women's basketball players. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when I come back from that break, we're going to be joined by Kristen Lappas, who directed this new 4-part docuseries titled Full Court Press. You don't want to miss that conversation coming up next on Ball Games and Beyond. Welcome back to Ball Games and Beyond, and now we're going to welcome in our guest this week. Joining us is director and producer Kristen Lappas, and she's here to discuss her upcoming 4-part docuseries that's going to premiere this weekend on ABC May 11th and May 12th, 2 parts on Saturday and 2 parts on Sunday. She directed the docuseries titled Full Court Press. And we're happy to have her here. The docuseries goes behind the scenes and takes a look at the world of women's college basketball. And it chronicles the senior season of Caitlin Clark, Kamilla Cardoso, as well as the sophomore season of Kiki Rice. And Kristen, I know you've been very, very busy this week, so we appreciate you making some time for us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Evan.
Now, Kristen, I'm interested to get a little bit of the background here. Of course, this docuseries is a part of Peyton Manning, Omaha Productions. And so that's really great because we all know they had a lot of great success with their most recent series on Netflix, the quarterback series there. And, you know, I know that you have some basketball in your blood because your father, Steve, spent some time as a college basketball coach himself at Manhattan, as well as Villanova. So I'm sure you're somewhat aware of what's going on in the world of college basketball, but I'm curious to know when you were approached to be the director of this project, how aware were you and how familiar were you with the phenomenon of Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Peyton Manning is a huge supporter of women's basketball. Going back to his days at Tennessee, he was really close to Pat Summitt, and so he's followed the game forever. When he came to me and the company that I work for, which is Words and Pictures, and asked if we wanted to be involved, if I wanted to kind of lead the way on this thing, it was a no-brainer for me because of how closely I had followed Caitlin during the first few years of her college career. I'm a huge hoops fan, especially women's basketball. And from the time that she entered, you know, her first year was during COVID, which was like a little tricky. So a lot of people really didn't get to see her play that first year. But we all knew that she was like one of the highest, you know, recruits in the country coming into Iowa, that she had been recruited by a lot of the top programs in the country. And then, you know, to see what she did her junior year really and followed her closely through her junior season was so exciting. It was so transcendent, and it was unlike anything that any of us had ever seen before. And so it was just a no-brainer. When I was asked to do this, it was an emphatic yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have to admit, you know, I don't consider myself a big fan of women's college basketball. Obviously, I got more involved in it this past season. I didn't think a series like this, if you had asked me this maybe 5 years ago, if a docuseries like this would have been possible, I probably would have told you no. But here we are, and you know, you have this series coming out this weekend, and I think it speaks volumes to, you know, Caitlin Clark and the star power that she has. And that's no disrespect to the other women that came before her in the world of women's basketball. But she obviously moves the needle with her style of play. It's you know, the theatrics, the deep 3-pointers, and all of that. And I think that the WNBA will now benefit from that, just as NCAA did. As you were witnessing this past season play out, you knew that you were going to be a part of this project. Could it have worked out any better? I mean, you had this unbelievable season of college women's basketball with the South Carolina, the undefeated season, Caitlin Clark breaking all the scoring records, and we all know about the demand and ticket prices and whatnot and the TV ratings. It just seems like a dream scenario for everyone involved in this project. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I told you that we, you know, could have predicted that South Carolina and Iowa would have met, our two characters would have met in the national championship game. It's a dream scenario for a storyteller to have your two protagonists kind of meet each other in that final game on the biggest stage. It was an incredible, I want to say luck, but, we did pick women from big time programs who did have a shot at a national title. But no, you couldn't have predicted it. It was absolutely lightning in a bottle. And, our entire team, as we, sat and watched the postseason kind of unfold before our eyes, we were just like, like this is just too crazy. Like, what would happen if these two met in the final game? And again, it made the series all the more richer. One of them could have been eliminated in the first round, and then we would have been trying to grasp at straws to kind of keep the storytelling going. But I feel like out of the 4-part series, episode 4 is actually my favorite, just because at that point you kind of know each of the women, you know what stakes that they have individually and as a team. And so it's really my favorite type of storytelling, which is just get out of the way and embrace the access and just let it kind of unfold. And so it is a really special episode. The access that we were granted by these programs is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I've worked in documentary filmmaking for over a decade now. They really embraced and allowed us into the most intimate moments of their programs. Halftime locker rooms, hotel rooms, video sessions, all of those places. So I think it takes you into a lot of really new and exciting moments that people don't normally get to experience in men's or women's basketball.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the access that viewers are going to get here in this new series, because in the past few years we have really seen an explosion in this docuseries genre. I think back to a few years ago when we had The Last Dance, which was the 7-part series on the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. Netflix, I mentioned, has the Quarterback series, and they also have Full Swing, a golf series. So there's definitely more and more of these types of shows popping up, and there's obviously demand for that. As a director, and from your perspective, why is it that people are craving this kind of content so much?
I think that audiences are really savvy nowadays and they want authenticity and they want to understand what goes into being an elite athlete that they watch every weekend, in their various matches and games. And I think that the storytelling allows you to get to know these people in a way that you didn't get to know them before. And I think it then allows people that maybe weren't like hardcore basketball or hardcore golf or football fans really enjoy it. We're getting a lot more female viewers, if I'm being totally honest, people who crave the storytelling behind these athletes and these sports. So I think, again, like, people want authenticity. I think people want to understand what it takes to be an elite athlete in 2024. And I think from the athlete and the coach's perspective, they understand how valuable this is to growing their game and their marketability. You know what I mean? Like, they're seeing, oh, well, if, these Formula One drivers did it, and look at the spike in the viewership for Formula One now. It's like, wow, we can bring more audience and more viewers to our sport if we just open our doors and allow them to kind of understand what we go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from my perspective as someone who enjoys watching these, one of the things that I enjoy is getting that access. And for me, it kind of humanizes these athletes a bit, because from the outside looking perspective, we think the life of an athlete is glamorous, and what we get to see with pieces of work like you have here coming out is that we get to see a lot of the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it, and we get to see the other side of being an athlete, because things are not always what they seem from the outside. So I think that's something else that attracts viewers as well. Now, having directed this show, and having all this access to these athletes, is there something that you hope that the viewers take away from it, or maybe that they learn about these 3 individuals that maybe they weren't aware of before?
Yeah, just to go back to your last point, I mean, Caitlin Clark has told me this numerous times that, everybody thinks that they know me because they see me play two
Yeah.
games a week for 2 hours, right? But who I am goes so far beyond, those 4 hours that people, see me on the court. And I know for her, it was like, I want people to really understand that a female elite college athlete in 2024 it's a tough spot to be in. There's a lot of pressure to grow the game. Yes, this growth is amazing, and but there's a lot of pressure that comes with that on women like Kiki Rice, like Kamilla Cardoso, and Caitlin Clark to make sure that they're kind of putting the game on their shoulders, and they're playing exciting basketball, and they're putting themselves out there for the fans. And, one of my favorite parts of the series is Caitlin Clark kind of talking about all of the challenges that come with this sudden influx of fame, which is what she's experienced over the last 6 months. And although she's eternally grateful, and it's been such a wonderful ride for her, there are challenges. She has off days, and she just wants to go about her business and sit with her boyfriend in a local diner and have breakfast, and she really can't do that anymore. So again, I think peeling back that curtain and understanding what it takes. And then another thing that's really important to me, because I do a lot of female sports storytelling, is to have viewers take away from this that these women aren't soft. There's not less conflict in women's sports. It's not a nicer version, or, like, these women are as intense. Like, they're cursing in the locker room. Like, they have the same stakes. Like, it's as hard and intense as any male sport. And I hope people walk away feeling that this is not just an amazing female sports story. It's just an amazing story. That's always my goal.
We are joined by director Kristen Lappas. She's got a new ESPN 4-part docuseries coming out on May 11th and 12th titled Full Court Press. It's available on ABC, and you can also find it shortly after that on ESPN Plus as well. Now, from what I've been reading,
and on Hulu, it's going to be on Hulu for a month as well.
Okay, and Hulu as well. So check it out there as well. Now, from what I've been reading, Caitlin Clark was an executive producer on this project as well. So, what can you tell us about what it was like to work with her and be around her in that capacity, and how involved was she?
Yeah, I mean, it was really important to us that she made sure that this thing was authentic and real and honest and true to who she is, but also who the other women is. And again, that whole narrative of like what a female athlete in 2024 is experiencing. We always want to make sure we're getting that right. I don't know that personally. Like, I never was in her shoes. And so, we showed all three women cuts of the series, and we wanted input into, if we were telling the story in an authentic way. They didn't change anything. Like, it was more just like, yeah, like, you guys are getting it right, or we should film this scene. We had Zooms before the season where we kind of went through with her. We brainstormed potential scenes that could be compelling for the series. One of my favorite things, she was kind of like, hey, I'm going to a Chiefs game on Christmas Day with my family. You guys should absolutely come and film that. So she had like really good ideas of exciting moments that followed her off the court that we could tag along for. So she was an amazing person to work with. She is so wise beyond her years. I mean, the fact that she's 22 years old and she carries herself with such poise and just kind of holds that responsibility and accountability in the utmost professional way is really amazing. And it was such a joy to work with her.
Interesting. That's really cool to hear. Kristen, you're certainly no stranger to working with stars. You also have you also directed a film titled Giannis, A Marvelous Story, or Marvelous Journey, excuse me. That's available on Amazon Prime Video as well. And then I know there's something in the works involving Dawn Staley as well, and South Carolina basketball as well. As a director, you have this new project that's going to be debuting here this weekend. What is it like on the days and weeks leading up to the premiere of a piece of your work? I mean, you want it to be received well, so I'm sure that comes with some, anxiety and some anticipation and excitement. Take us through some of the emotions that you go through as you prepare for the world to see some of your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really nerve-wracking, if I'm going to be totally honest. You kind of pour yourself into these stories for, months, sometimes years in the case of Giannis, and to finally have what feels almost like a piece of you, like it's your baby. You're living and breathing this person's story, and just hoping and praying that you get it right. And then to put it out in the world for everybody to not only see but also critique. It's a very scary thing. It's also a little bit of a bittersweet. I always tell young filmmakers this, that it's a little bit bittersweet when you finally get to the finish line and your piece of work is out in the world for people to see, because you're done telling that story, and so you kind of move on with your life, and this thing that you were totally encompassed by for so long is just kind of gone. And so it is a weird feeling, like Caitlin and I said goodbye to each other on the red carpet in Indianapolis at the premiere on Monday night. And it's kind of like, you keep in touch, but it's kind of like that chapter is over. So it's always a strange thing. But I will say this, more important than, the reviews and the criticism and the praise that it receives, for me, the ultimate moment that is as scary as anything is showing the athlete the project for the first time, and making sure that they're happy. And in my experiences, like when the athlete feels like you've done it right, that's like where I get the feeling of relief, and like I did my job, not really like what the reviewer thinks, but more what the athlete feels and thinks.
Yeah, well, I know I'm very much looking forward to watching it this weekend. I encourage everyone out there listening and watching this video to do the same as well. Full court press, May 11th, 2 parts on Saturday, 2 parts on Sunday. You can find it on ABC, ESPN Plus, and Hulu as well. Kristen Lappas, we appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.